Today, similar to the paper snowflakes you've maybe made in the past or made in class, for the first time, we're going to make a snowflake in CAD using kind of that same principle. So open up a new project. You can name it Snowflake or anything like that. I don't particularly need you to save this, but just good practice. Create a new file and then save it and then just call it Snowflake before you've even done anything in it. So that way it just has that name. First thing we're going to do is create a center diameter circle. We want this to be 4.5 inches in diameter. And then looking at our circle, I also don't want this to be a solid line right now. I just want it to be a construction line. So I'm going to click the circle and then come over here to my line type and hit construction. So now I have my dotted line that is my circle. So this is going to be the outermost radius for all of our snowflakes. And to kind of give you an idea of what this is going to look like, I made some examples over here. So you have a few options. If you want your snowflakes to have 4 branches, 6 branches, or 8 branches, I kind of have the math here and how you would figure out how we're going to do the next part. And then below, I have some examples of what a 4, 6, or 8 branch snowflake might look like. Similar to like our folded up snowflake, we're going to just be working on or designing one little wedge. That little wedge, looking down at this section, we're then going to flip and repeat to make a pattern that will make the rest of the snowflake. So if you want a snowflake that is maybe even 10 branches or some other number, the math is here. So 360, because that's degrees in a circle, divided by however many branches you want, gives you whatever number. And then you need to divide that by 2 because we're designing half of each of these wedges. So for an 8 branch snowflake, 360 divided by 8 is 450, 45 divided by 2, that means our wedge would need to be 22.5 degrees. For our purposes, I'm going to design a particular snowflake. So let's pull this up. So this one being a 6 branched snowflake. So I'm going to make a 30-degree angle, but you can make any pattern you would like, and we can talk about the ways to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is create a whole line going up to the top, touching my circle. So it should be 2.25 inches because it's half of our 4.5 diameter. So that's a solid line. I'm going to hide my snowflake in the back line. So I'll have this one solid line. And now we need to create our second solid line at our angle. So right now I'm at 180 degrees. If I start to drop down, you say go under 180 degrees, and I want this to be 30 degrees in total of drop. So I'm going to go to 150 and then have that touch the edge of my circle. So now I have a 30-degree wedge, but it's still not closed, which is what I want. So I'm going to do this create tool at the top, create an arc. We're going to do a center point arc. So we're going to touch the center point. Then we're going to touch one of the arms, and then we're going to slide it over to the other arm. So now I've created my wedge. And I can hit escape because I'm done with that arc tool. So now this is where we're going to be designing our snowflake. Like I said, there's no wrong way to do this. So I'm going to pull my canvas. I'm going to just slowly try to map this out as best I can. Some tools that you can use. Actually, I should go over to my examples to kind of show you. So I just used some like straight lines and like 90-degree angles on this one. On this one, I just randomly connected some different lines to make a random pattern. And then on this one, I made all these smooth, wavy edges. All those are options. So to talk about how we can do some of those, we just need to start sketching. So at the top, I'm going to say, I'm going to add a little clip there. And then if I click and hold, it makes a curved edge. So again, if I hit escape, stop doing that line. Let me hide this canvas for a second so you might be able to see. I have a little line segment right here. If I get onto that line segment and I click and hold, it wants to build a curve kind of off the bat. If I let go, it places that curve. So then you kind of build these like curves as you go along, depending on what you're trying to follow. But we can just kind of map this out fairly roughly. If I'm wanting to make this particular snowflake. You can see Fusion is really trying to add a bunch of constraints as we go. So this is a point I'm trying to make this round, so I might turn that into a slight curve instead. Take some liberties with what my snowflake looks like. So just like your paper versions of this, just cut wherever you feel appropriate. You're cutting into this wedge, but instead of cutting into it, like a piece of paper with a pair of scissors, you're cutting into it with your line tool. So now I've connected with another side. So if I hide this canvas again, if I hit escape, so I get off of my line tool. So now if I click this, I can highlight the section and it'll show up. That tells me that this is a completed body. Like I said, yours can look like, I've just tried to make a real snowflake, or it can look more like any of these wedges. Then on these, I have this second circle that I'm going to talk about in a moment. But we have these shapes on the inside. If you have something that looks like this, then you're good to go. Just something that is touching both sides of your wedge. So going back to my original snowflake, this is all I want for it because I've matched my canvas. So I'm going to finish sketch. I'm going to extrude. Oh, I don't know what sketch I've selected. It's back here. Now hit extrude. And I'm going to extrude 0.125 inches up. And now I have this little weird looking chunk. If I pull my sketches back up, so if in my sketches I go down here to the sketch I just used to make this. Ooh, those are my examples. If I go to these sketches and unhide this sketch, I can see where I started from. So looking at this sketch, this is in line with this line, and that's what I want. So I'm going to create a mirror. So click that select mirror. We're picking our objects first. So we're going to pick that body. Our mirror plane, we want to be the plane that is in line with the opposite side of our wedge, the right side of our wedge in this case. So I'm going to click this. It has created that mirror. I want it to join. I want this to become one piece, and I hit OK. So now I can hide that original sketch. Now I have this weird little chunk, but if I pull my canvas back up, you can see it kind of lines up with the other side, at least close enough for what I'm doing. So hide my canvas again. So now I need to create a pattern. And I'm going to create a circular pattern of this piece. So my object is the body I just made. My axis, since I started from the origin, I can just pick the green y-axis. And it starts by doing this. It defaults to 3 and it has them going all the way around. I don't need 3 arms though, since I picked 30 degrees. I need 6 arms, and that'll fill all the pieces in. And I hit OK. So now I have 6 bodies that would make up my snowflake. If I open up the bodies drop down, I have a lot of bodies from all of my previous, but if I simply go to combine without even looking at the bodies folder or drop down, hit combine and I click one of these, that makes that my target body. And now I go to tool bodies. I'm going to select all the other parts of the snowflake. My operation, I want join, and I do not want to keep tools. So I hit OK. So now I have this snowflake shape. So at this point, I can pull up my canvas again. See, it looks pretty close enough, at least for me. So I have a snowflake. So again, talking about these rings, that other circle I put on here. So here are the two examples. We have the top snowflakes that I had made, and then at the bottom the same snowflake, but I added a perimeter around, so it has a like solid circle on the outer edge. The main point of this is just so it doesn't have any like small edges that might be more prone to breaking off. Would be more prevalent in this one that has these like longer arms coming off. So if I want to make sure that doesn't break off, I might add a circle to that. So to show you what that looks like, I'm going to go into my original sketch. I'm going to right click and hit edit sketch. So if you're wanting to add a circle around yours as well to kind of protect delicate pieces, edit that sketch. And now we're going to transform this outer line, the one that's at 4.5 inches, we're going to make that a solid object line. And we're also going to create another circle, maybe at 4.25 inches. So if we put it at 4.25 as the diameter, that means that difference between 4.25 and 4.5 will be our thickness of this outer rim. So since that's 0.25 inches on either side, so that means this will give us an 1/8 of an inch kind of ring around the outside. So if you want that, great. If you'd rather make it like 4.35 or something like that, so there's a thinner edge, entirely up to you, but just make sure, or just know that the thinner you make it, more delicate it would be. So now I've created those two circles. I can hit finish sketch again, and then it does all that same stuff, but it didn't add my circle because I need to go to the original extrusion, which would be this one. If I right click, edit feature, nope, maybe it wasn't that one. Maybe that was my pre-made ones. Let's try this one. Yes. So this is where I brought up the snowflake piece. If I click and add this like top wedge of the arc to it as well, and now I hit OK, then it completes that outer ring for me. So whenever I print this, it'll have this outer ring. In addition to having this outer ring, we need a place to hang this. So on these, I've also added a part of the sketch, this little circle. So we can do that now. I'm going to hide that original sketch. So at this point, if you are adding a circle, we're going to add a little ring to hold it on the top. If you're not adding this outer circle, then you're just going to make this hole somewhere else in the snowflake. So create our sketch. We are going to create this on either face. It doesn't matter which face you choose. Just whichever face you choose, understand you're going to have to extrude the other way so it makes it the same thickness. So I'm going to do it on the back face of my snowflake. Ooh, not what I wanted. So going back to my sketch. So I'm making a sketch. You can see if I like rotate around, I can see that like paper kind of hanging out on the backside, like the grid is on the back of this. I'm gonna go back here. I'm gonna zoom into my bottom view. So I'm just looking at this straight on. I need to add a couple things. So we're gonna start with a circle that has a diameter of 0.1 inches. And now we need to bring this circle somewhere here. So we're going to kind of constrain it. However you constrain it doesn't matter. It just should be, probably in line, centered with something. So I can add a vertical constraint with the circle and the origin. so it locks it so it needs to stay above my origin. And then I think I'm going to have mine be tangent with the top. So I'm just going to build the hole off of the top of this. So tangent, well, maybe I need to reverse that, of this, no, sure, this line be tangent with that. So now I've brought my circle down, that is going to be my hole for like the hanging piece of string. So here's that. From here, I need material to cut this hole out of. So I'm going to create an offset of this circle. So I'm going to go out some amount that feels appropriate. 0.06 looks fine. So it'll be enough material to kind of also not be super delicate. And I'm going to finish my sketch there. So now I can extrude this, and I want it to meet this face. So instead of distance, I'm going to say to object, click this face, and it's going to join those. And then I don't want this sharp edge here, so I'm going to fillet those to also kind of give them some strength, and just let that round over kind of go all the way up, and hit OK. So now if you want the circle, you can put it up there. Otherwise, just add that 0.1 inch hole somewhere near an edge inside of your snowflake, and that'll be where you'll hang it from. So this is done as far as I'm concerned. If at this point you're looking at it and you don't quite like how something looked, you can always go back to your original sketch, right click it, edit sketch, and from here maybe I want this point to go down further, and I want this point to go over here, and you can see mine's kind of acting weird because it has all these constraints that were added to it automatically, so I'm going to delete some of those. Maybe I want mine to look more like this now. I can move my lines around and kind of adjust things and tweak things however I see fit. Or I could also add some additional lines and kind of chop things up. So maybe I want a square cutout right here. So I'd finish my sketch, go to that next extrusion, edit that feature, and I'm going to say I don't want you to extrude that square, and hit OK. And now it's created this new monstrosity of a snowflake. So at this point, I would have one little piece that is my snowflake. This is all the same layer, it's flat. We can do a little bit more. So we're going to be making these on the laser cutter. So in that regard, fine detail is something that we can achieve here. So we're going to be cutting these out of acrylic, and you have some options. So when we're cutting this out of acrylic, I'll show you the options for what acrylic you can cut out of, but just to speak about them, it could be a opaque white, it could be clear, or we have some like glittery gold acrylics that you could use as well. If you have any other particular requests, we can kind of go back and see what we have. But one thing with the laser cutter is we can have really fine detail. So if we create a new sketch on top of this snowflake, maybe you want some text on here. So I'm going to create text. I'm going to bring it from here. Actually, no, I don't want to lock it to that point. I'm just going to create some text over here. I want this text to say 2024. Great. You can go over here, you can pick whatever kind of font you want. At this point, you can pick any font because the laser is capable of getting these really thin details. So if that's something you want, you can do that. And I'm going to hit OK. You can adjust the height of these. You can adjust how far the characters are spaced apart, all these normal things. So I'm going to hit OK. So now I have this text. So I can move it around in weird ways. You can also click the text. I'm just going to drop it somewhere that it fits and hit Finish Sketch. And now I can extrude. I'm just going to cut just into the surface. So I'm saying negative 0.1. Maybe negative 0.1 millimeter. So it just goes below the surface. So if you want to add some text, you can just put it somewhere on your surface, or you can leave it as it is as just a snowflake. So now once we have this, you need to create a sketch. So this is how we're going to export it to me so that the laser will eat it and create your snowflake. So you create sketch, you're going to click your top surface, whatever that is. So in this case, top of my snowflake, and we go into the sketch. What you need to do is hit the letter P to bring up this project window, and we are going to pick the top surface of your sketch. So in my case, when I do this, you notice it doesn't select the inside line of that 0 because it's broken off. So you need to make sure every line in your sketch is selected. So here are all of my lines, and only these lines are selected. I don't have anything else added to this sketch. So I'm hit OK. So now you see all those become purple, and they have some like little anchor points for like where they either stop or to kind of show you what a curve looks like. So I have all of this. This is what I need. So you see this is sketch 5. So if I hide it and open it back up, sketch 5 is the one we're dealing with. I'm going to right click it because that's one we just projected my snowflake onto. I'm going to hit save as DXF. I'm going to name it for all of you. Put in your initials and then just give me snowflake. You're going to save it. It's going to go to your downloads folder on your computer. And then same as before, send me an email. Let's see if we can pull this up quickly. Send me an email with the subject IED file. You're going to hit the little paperclip. You're going to attach your downloaded Snowflake DXF file. So we'll have .dxf at the end. You're going to attach that, and you're going to tell me if you have a preference between clear, white, or glitter. And then we'll make some snowflakes later in class.